Good evening. This is Pastor Joe Matos of Fairless Hills, Pennsylvania, and this is another weekly encouragement devotional, which is a little bit tough to give this week. I know there's been a lot of chaos, and there continues to be a lot of chaos in this country. There are people who are hurt, there are people who are angry, who feel betrayed, are confused, and are hurting. And I'm hurting with you. I understand these emotions. What happened to George Floyd was a tragedy. I think everybody can agree that he did not deserve that kind of treatment. And it sparked an outrage in this country. I'm praying for him, and I'm praying for his family. I hurt for what this country is currently going through as a result of that horrific act. I think that Romans chapter 12 speaks to what our country is going through right now. Even though it was written many, many years ago, I think it's still very relevant today. So I'm going to read verses 17 through 21. It says this: "Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, 'It is mine to avenge. I will repay,' says the Lord. On the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." This is the word of the Lord. I've seen, in the midst of all this confusion and in the midst of all this pain and chaos, I've seen some encouraging stories this week. I've seen stories where the people of Philadelphia organized the next day after rioters came and destroyed their city. They came together out of love for each other and love for their city and cleaned up after something that they did not do. I've seen a police officer, I forget what city this was in, and he was separated from his team, and he was about to be attacked by a bunch of rioters, and the protesters formed a line in front of this man to protect him from people who sought to do him harm, because they saw value in his life. Even though they were protesting against something that a police officer did, and that many police officers have done in the past, they still found it in their hearts to protect the man who was wearing that same uniform. And I wish that we as a people could do more acts of love for each other, similar to these two stories. Love people even though you don't know who they are. Love your city and clean up after something that you did not do. And I wish that there was more acts of love and not just a surge of them after something traumatic has happened. It all comes down to loving people. All people. And I know that's hard when you're hurting. And I know that's hard when you're angry. And I know that's hard when you see an unfair system in place. But love is how real change happens. In a world of violence, the answer is not more violence. In a world of violence, love is the answer. It says here, in doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head. You will confuse people in your act of love. And you'll get them wondering, why is this person being nice to me? Why is this person being kind to me after all of the things that I have done? Be the example of love that Jesus showed for us. It's what we were called to do by Jesus. He says himself to love God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. These are the two things that we're called to do by the man who is the perfect example of those two things. Even after he was beaten, even after he suffered, even after all of these people said false things about him, and he was made to carry his cross. And even as he was suffering and dying, he pled out to God and he said, please forgive them, for they know not what they do. We are to live that example. We believe in the saving act upon the cross. We do not believe in retaliation. I believe in protests. I believe that they can and they have made a difference. I believe in your right to protest as an American. And I also believe that a huge difference can be made when we love people. When we are true examples of the love that Jesus showed for us. Loving all people, regardless of their race, regardless of their gender, regardless of their background, regardless of their ethnicities, regardless of your political differences, regardless of your physical differences, regardless of anything. Jesus never said, love your neighbors except when this. Jesus said, love your neighbors, period. That's what we're supposed to do. And that's what we should be living out in our lives. Show love to one another. I've been saying that almost every week on this devotional. And we need that now in this country, in our town, in Lower Bucks County. We need that now more than ever. As always, I invite you to like, to comment, to share your concerns with me. I'd love to hear them. I'd love to connect with you. I'd love to pray with you. I'd love to share your burdens. Until next week, be at peace, love people, and be blessed.